Hey there everyone, welcome. PTZ cameras, what are they? How can you use them? That's in today's episode of Tech Condo. It's really nice of you to be here. At the moment we're at what we call the pre-show, so we are making things organized. We're trying to figure out how everything is going well and if all the cameras are working. So that is something that I typically do up front. I thought it would be cool to do it because we're going to talk about cameras today. So I'm going to walk through all of the cameras to see that together with you, just, because it's possible. And one of the things about Tech Condo is that we love tech and we're not afraid to not show it. Of course, if you like to produce a show where you want to really delve into the content, I can definitely imagine that you will not, you're not going to show all of the technology around it because that's not the way that a lot of people think and work. So that is something that we're going to do, just to put on some music. So let's go through the camera setup that I have for you today. I actually have one camera that I cannot use at this moment, and I've got two additional cameras. So let's go through this. This is the first one, and this is the second one, which is the most important one. After that, we can go to this one. Hello, how are you? We actually also have one that is a camera, but I'm not going to show it because that is just a reader. Then I have, of course, my laptop, and then going back to this one just in case. And then let's see, we have this one, which is strangely enough about a PTZ camera, so it's also looking at a PTZ camera, and this is the PTZ camera as it is now. And actually on this slide, on this picture, you can actually see the other cameras. So this was the first camera that you saw, this was the second one that you saw, and that one is the over the head shot right there. So that is what I have in store today, and I am going back to this shot, and I'm going to welcome some people. I see people at this moment, only Amy, but she's here, and that's great. But there's a lot of things going on in the world of live streaming, so I can imagine that two people are not in today. I have the exact same camera. Amy says that is awesome. It was kind of an interesting thing because I had a gray one, then I thought I would have a white one, and now it's back to a gray one, and how that is all connected and how things are going and why it was there, that's definitely something that I'm going to be discussing. But before I do that, do you know what a PTZ camera is? And maybe you can give me a quick yes or no in the comments, because if you don't know, that's fine, but then I know that I need to give you a little bit more of an introduction to it, and I really love to do that. Apart from that, I am really excited because I will definitely use the new camera in a few weeks for a city council episode, and you hear all kinds of bells and whistles going on. Let me try to shut down the volume here because that's all, but that's part of being live, of course. I just thought about a picture that I wanted to share with you guys, which I have not how do you say that, prepared, but I think it's really important because it is actually the picture that is one of those pictures that actually is the prelude of this episode. And let me see if I can find it. Yes, here it is. So I'm gonna show that picture during the show so that you guys know how this all has become where I am right now, and I really look forward to you guys. Quick remark: if you are on Facebook, you can leave a comment like I did here, like this, boom. it says show, and if you write down show in the comment, you will get into a two-step process to be able to put into a list so that you get notified when a show starts. So like you just heard some bells and whistles going on over here. That's because I also notify myself to see if everything is working fine. So that is the way that I've done it. The sound is rather low, my dad says. Let me see what I can do about that. I can increase that a bit here. And maybe also here. I hope this is done better. It should be better, at least. That's what I think. Let me know if that is the case. Otherwise, let me try to figure out something myself, because I do have some issues. Let me hear it myself quickly. Okay, that sounds well. Okay, I can imagine that the sound of the audio is a little bit too much. So let me remove the audio a little bit, like so. At least that should be better. Amy is also saying something. She says on YouTube, so you can also write down some comments on YouTube. When you switch to vMix, will you still use your Mevo cameras somehow? Well, that's a problem, Amy, because they're locked into Livestream Studio, so that will not be possible, at least at this moment. Maybe in the future when they decide to free up that lock, but for now that's unfortunately not possible. But don't worry, I still have for live stream, I can use that still in my studio, and the PTZ cameras are also for other reasons than only this show. I can still use it, but not as good as I wanted to, but that's fine. Oh, my dad says it's okay now. That's great. And Amy says, but you are so smart, and you will find a workaround. I will most likely do that. I actually already did it for instance, the comments. I mean, I'm still using Livestream Studio, but I'm also using vMix now. So it's next to two applications, and my CPU is still running on 25. Percentage of 25%, so it is kind of okay-ish. I would rather have a little bit lower than that, but hey, that's fine. All right, we have 2 minutes to go, and then we can really start the show. We're going to talk about a PTZ camera. Why should you use it? Do you need to use it? What is it? And that kind of thing, and why am I using it, and why am I choosing for one particular brand? There are some reasons that are not really of a objective part, but most of the reasons are still objective, fortunately, because that's the way I check things. But there is a subjective part in there as well. But we'll talk about that in 1.5 minutes. Last week I also had a very interesting discussion with regard to design thinking, and I think that I'm going to use that also for next shows, not during the show, but to find more content for this show, because yeah, I love giving you some content and some added value. So I mean, you're investing some time in this, so I would really like to give you a great show. So about 45 seconds to go, and then we're done. By the way, I'm not sure if you've seen it, but I just figured out that on the new camera that I am going to show you, of course, during the show, but I actually have my show notes right there. So you can actually see that I'm actually preparing something. I mean, I'm preparing something? No way, that never happens. Yes, it actually does happen. Of course it does happen. So, okay, let's 15 seconds to go. Let's make sure that we're done and happy, and 5 seconds is long then, huh? Welcome everyone, welcome to the show, welcome to TechCondo. Today we're going to talk about PTZ cameras. What are PTZ cameras? How can you use them? And do you need to use them? And why have I chosen to use them myself? Because there are a few strange things going on and I need to talk about that. So that is in today's show. So let's get things going. Welcome everyone, welcome to the show again, TechCondo. And before I almost forget, I mean, one of the most important things are these people right here. These people are supporting the show, and with the support I can give you great content, and I can actually manage to be live about every week. Actually, it's going to be every week, and maybe 1 or 2 weeks in a year that I'm not able to, or maybe a few more, but then that. Typically, on Saturdays, I'm here for you to talk about technology, to talk about software, hardware, gear, cameras, networking, all kinds of cool stuff. Today, we're going to talk about a PTZ camera. And before I do, during the pre-show, I looked into my Facebook account, and I saw a picture which actually was key to a lot of ideas for the last few times. So this picture is taken in 2014. So that was 4 years ago, and let's show it. So this is the picture. I'm a little bit younger, but you'll see that I am actually helping out for a show, which was a show about Apple news. It's a Dutch show. It's called One More Thing. One More Thing being, of course, the slogan that Steve Jobs always used. But one of the most important things in that picture, and I'm going to show it again, is that there's a joystick. Let me show it again. There's a joystick in this picture right at my left hand. That joystick is very, very, very important also for this show, because it was used to control 3 PTZ cameras. Now, what are PTZ cameras? So first of all, what PTZ is actually an abbreviation for 3 words. One is P for pan, and pan is actually this movement. This is a pan from my end, left to right, from your end, I don't know. Then you have the tilt. Tilt is from top to bottom. And then zoom, well, you know what zoom is. So there are several that are possibilities for a camera. So you have motors in a camera that do these kind of things. And of course, because it's moving, because it's zooming, it typically also has focus in there as well. Now, that is a PTZ camera. And the way that it looks is actually right like this. This is a PTZ camera. And this camera is from PTZ Optics, and this is the camera also that I'm going to talk about today. All right. Oh, that one. That's the problem with a lot of cameras, of course. So why do I need a PTZ camera? Do I need it for my show here in the studio? Not really. I do like to have a 4th camera for the over the shoulder shots or some other shots that might be interesting in the future. Maybe I want to have camera in my living room and then still show you something that might be possible, but that might be the reason. So there is a little bit more of things going on here in the studio, but actually with 3 cameras, that one, and above, that's actually more than sufficient for what I do over here. So why am I actually doing this? Well, I am actually doing this because I am also I have my own company. Now, it's not a big company, and in all fairness, it's not a big company at all, but it is a company, and what we do is that we stream local events. And typically that can be outside, but also inside, and 9 out of 10 times it's a cultural phenomenon. And that means that we have a stage, we have audience, and we want to registrate what's going on. Is that good English? We want to show what's going on. And it looks roughly like this. So this is a typical setup that we have if we start with a show. So we have 4 cameras that you can see. One below, the one below is the one with the very big shot of the whole stage, is what we call a ISO camera, or isolated camera, so it is an isolated camera that does not move. It's not even manned. There's no person there. The blue laughing faces are representative of people, real people that are actually using the camera and filming it. On the right hand side, down below, you see a camera that actually is following the main subject, the singer of a band, or the presenter, that kind of thing. And then you have on both sides of the stage, we also have additional cameras. This is a typical setup that we have now. So what you see here is actually that we have 3 people that are actually doing camera work. Now, in my case, that is not a big deal, but sometimes, the last year, it sometimes becomes very tough to get 3 people for the camera, 1 for producing it, maybe also somebody for audio, another person. So typically we have like 8 people working on a production like this, and you want to be able to cut it down. Now, in my case, sometimes I work together with the local radio and TV station, which is volunteer-based. So that does not mean that I don't have to pay for those people. Not always. Sometimes I do. And there is also a thing, is because you want to make it's as cost effective as possible. So that's the reason why I actually bought a PTZ camera. I'm going to show you the PTZ camera in a bit, but I do see some remarks. One thing is that Amy was talking about the show notes that I showed you in the pre-show. Don't worry, Amy, I'm going to show it to you in a bit. Don't worry about it. And Amy says, nice diagram. It's you are a good teacher. I hope so. That's what I would like to do. I love to do that kind of thing. And Geert is also here in the house, and Geert is actually one of the volunteers at the local radio and TV station. So great of you to be here. He's actually a colleague of mine. So a PTZ camera, what does it look like? Well, I showed you mine already, but I can also show you one which is huge, and that's this one. This is one of the PTZ Optics cameras. PTZ Optics is the brand, and the camera type is called PTZ, or PTZ if you live in the UK, because I've heard that a few times. This is the white version. I love the white version. I would love to have the white version, but there are some reasons why I actually chose for the gray version. And actually, one of the reasons is that the gray version is not in your face. Now, it's a little bit for me a little bit, I had a big problem with that because on one hand, I really like to show you my technology because that is definitely what this program is all, what this show is all about. On the other hand, I don't want to make it too important. So for instance, if I go back to this shot over here, there is the PTZ camera is right there, but you barely see it. You need to know that it's there, otherwise you would not have seen it. So that is one of the reasons why I did that, so that it's not that obvious. That is one of the things. So there are a lot of different brands. So I have chosen PTZ Optics, but you can also choose for Sony or Panasonic or loads of different other brands. NewTek is also a new player in the game, but NewTek has something which is special we're going to talk about. But I have chosen for PTZ Optics. There are a few reasons for that. Let me try to explain. So the first reason is, well, I got to know of them because I am part of a community, Live Streaming Pros, Geeks Live, that are actually using PTZ Optics cameras. And it makes perfect sense to, if you're a part of a community and you know that people have certain brand of cameras, that you try to do the same, because then you can help each other. Well, I can help new people, but also now I am a new person, so now people like Amy, who also has a PTZ Optics camera, can help me with some suggestions how to use it, how to use some applications or that kind of thing. So that is a great thing about that. So that's the first reason, but there's actually also another reason, and that is that PTZ Optics, maybe not a big company, but they are US located. They have a face. I mean, they have a user group with people from the marketing department that actually are going live, like me, every single week to discuss new stuff. And also discuss, and they're very honest, they have actually an issue, what we're going to talk about in a minute. But they were really honest about that. And yes, of course, it's not great to hear that something is not going as planned, but at least you know it. You know that they're working on it, which is really, really great, I think. So, so they're small. The support is really, really, really good. And I can tell that because I also need to say something else, is that this is not my first PTZ Optics camera. I actually had one prior to this one, which broke. So that's a little bit awkward. So I'm saying very good, positive things, but actually I had an issue. And this is also Taekwondo. Taekwondo is also honest, sometimes a little bit painfully honest, but I think it's important in the end to be honest, because this is the way that I can help you, and hopefully you can help me. So what I'll do is I'll play a very short movie clip, video clip, to show you how it switches on, but also the error that I received, and I will come back to you and tell you how it has been solved, because I think the way that the support environment is working is very important, especially if you go live like me every week. So here I'm switching it on. It's going through what we call the wake up dance. So it's moving and it's trying to get to a point. And normally around about now it starts to show the picture. But in this case it said zoom error, and then it crashed and said something else, which was the, and I have to wait, AF init overtime. Now, and that's of course something that you don't want to see, right? And that's also what happened in my case, is that sometimes something goes wrong. So this was happening last week on Sunday. So that was Sunday. Nobody works on Sunday. Well, a few people work, but generally speaking, people do not work on Sunday. So on Monday morning, my Monday morning here in Europe, 6 hour difference with the eastern side of the US, I actually written an email to PTZ Optics. I also sent an email to my reseller here in the Netherlands. The reseller came back to me within 1.5 hours, which is great. PTZ Optics became 6.5 hours. So actually, it was the first thing that they did, which was great. And that same day, they told me it has to be replaced. And on Thursday, the camera was already on its way to me. And on Friday, it was here. So within a week, I had it, which was really, really fast. And I really appreciate that. And that, my friends, that is what I call support. And that's also one of the reasons why I still say PTZ Optics is good. So, but that's something I think is also important to say. So, Amy says that I like the wake-up dance on the PTZ. I like that too. And Geert also says that hope to work with PTZ sometimes in our show. Do you remember when we have some guests? Well, Geert, we can always see what we can do, right? Not saying anything at this moment, but we'll see. We'll see what we can do. All right. So how do you? Well, oh, sorry. Before I start, what's on that system? So one of the things that I also want to show you is what's on the system, and I unfortunately forgot. Yeah, sometimes that happens. To show you to take a picture of this one, but I have it now, so let's show it. So this is the remove the names for a bit. So this is the backend side of the camera. It has Ethernet. It has HDMI, it has SDI, it has USB 2.0, it has a protocol to control it, a few of them even, and it has a system select, and the system select is actually saying what the frequency and frame rate is of that system, the resolution and the frequency is of that system. So it's jam-packed. You have HDMI, you have SDI, and you have an Ethernet port. So you actually only need 3 cables, and then it runs. So you have the Ethernet port to control the system. You have the power, because it needs power, right? And you have an SDI or HDMI cable as well to get the video to your streaming system. That is now the case. That is now definitely still the case, but that will change. And that brings me to the second part, is that the camera will be in the future. It would actually be already there, but unfortunately it's not. This is where they have some issues, but it will be NDI compatible. And the great thing about NDI compatibility is that it will actually be able to show video not via an SDI cable or HDMI cable, but via your Ethernet cable, your network cable. So actually you can control your PTZ camera with an Ethernet cable, but also show video via the same cable. And that's not all. You can also power up your camera with the same cable. So you only need one cable to use that whole system. Not at this moment. It's not ready yet. There's still some firmware things, and there's also a licensing fee with this. So you have to pay an additional amount on top of the normal price. But with that, you cut down on complexity so much that I really, really like that. Amy says about NDI. I purchased the NDI firmware upgrade back in September, still waiting for a release. Yes, Amy, same thing for my PTZ camera. I did the same thing. I also ordered my my license, but not in September, but in January. And I know that they have some issues, and I'm sure that they will come up with a good solution for us. but also on their end they have some issues with legal, and we'll see when it's happening, but I'm sure that it will come, and once it's there, it will be great. I'm sure of that. But since Amy says, but since I have a small studio, I might keep using SDI. Well, you might do that. That's true. And once you have a capture card, Amy, my recommendation would also be to just use the SDI. But when you don't have the cable, for instance, in some cases I need 60 meters of cable, which is 60. Let me try to figure out how much is that in feet. 60 meters in feet. So that's 196 feet of cable. Then it becomes very interesting to have Ethernet, because SDI cable is very heavy and also very expensive. So I'd rather just have an Ethernet cable of 196 feet than a SDI cable. So that is one of the reasons for maybe changing that. So that's it. Also very important is that the product is actually, even though it's called PTZ Optics, the hardware is from Panasonic and from Sony. So actually you're actually having a very nice system for a lesser price. NDI will be great for my gigs. Yes, and that's exactly the reason why I bought it. Okay, so you have a 20 times zoom camera. That's the one that I have, but you also have a 12 times zoom camera. So what does that mean? That, for instance, if I have this camera right there, the 20 times zoom will only show right about this part, this part. So you'll have a little bit less of headroom than with this camera that I'm using now, which is of course the Mevo. And how do you control these kinds of systems? So let's go back to the system. So this is the system as it looks like right there. And I can actually also show you what it shows at this moment, which is this shot right here. Now, I can actually control it via a remote like this. This remote here I can use to zoom in. I'll do that right now. I'll do that a little bit quick, like this, so that I can show you. This is just a little bit more. Right there. So this is a remote, standard remote. Let me try to give it, there you go. And this remote actually can control the movement of the camera. So these arrows can actually also change the position, like so, or like so, arrow above, or back down, like so, and then you'll see what's up next. But that's fine. So you can actually really control the system with a remote. But it also has these presets, a lot of them, but you can see 9 very easily. And with those 9, you can actually jump to predefined positions of the camera, which is great. You can just program it also via this remote, which is absolutely stunning. I really like it. But you can also control it other ways. And one of the other ways is, and you just saw it a little bit on the picture, but or on the video, but it is like, for instance, this. So let me make it a bit bigger, like this, sorry. So this is also a way of doing that, that is via a iOS application. And in all fairness, the iOS application really sucks. So I'm not using it. So that's my honest opinion on it. I've tried to use it. It works, but the thing is, I am a little bit old school. I want to have, and I really mean that, I want to have textile products. Like, I mean, for the iPhone, it's the same thing. The iPhone, I'm not able to look at this and then say, oh, I'm not pressing this or I'm pressing this. I have to really look at it. And if I am delivering content, I don't want to look at my phone. So that's also the reason why I have this here, so that I actually can see what I'm doing. So I now know if I press this button right here, boom, I'm there. And I do the same thing, I'm going back. And I've not looked at my, or maybe I glanced a little bit, but that's all I did. So, yes, Amy, I just say it sucks. All right, so that's a way of doing that, and the nicest way of doing that is actually, and again, I am old school. I like to have something physical in front of me. So that is also one of the reasons why, yeah, I do like this. This is also a IP joystick, so it's Ethernet based. You click it in to your switch or your router, and your camera to the same switch or router, and you can actually control it. You can select the camera that you want. You can zoom in. You can zoom out. You can focus. You have lots of presets. It is not that. It's not cheap, but I think it's really, really cool. So that's what I think, at least. Keith says, I really want to discuss the possibilities soon in our studios. Thanks, Petra. Sorry, I have to disconnect in 5. That's fine. No worries, Keith. Good of you to be here. Anyways, that is something that you can also use. But there's more. And now I have to, unfortunately, do a quick video because I am using Livestream Studio. I'm using my Mevos still in this studio, but I'm also planning to start using vMix more often, and I will probably, in a couple of months, maybe after the summer, will probably switch over to vMix totally. Maybe not, I don't know yet, but at least I will, for 100% for sure, I will start using vMix solely for my gigs. So I will not use Livestream Studio at my gigs anymore. That's for sure. That's the reason why I'm currently investing a lot of time in understanding how vMix works and how I can use it for these kind of great stuff. So that's a little bit of an introduction. I've created a video where I will talk you through it. There's no sound in the video, but you'll see me blah 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 saying something, but that's because I was just talking to myself. That happens a little bit more often than you think. So let's go into it. This is vMix, another application, and here I am actually adding a camera. Now in my current Livestream Studio unit I only have 2 inputs, so that's not a lot. Hence I have Mevos, which are Ethernet based. And this is the camera, and this is also the desk. And what you see here is that you can actually use a Xbox controller. Now, it's not set up yet, so you have to go into the PTZ control screen, select your IP address, connect to the system, and then you'll see that you can actually control that camera, which is really cool. You can also add predefined presets. That's what I'm going to do now. This is the first preset, and this is the second preset, which is right there. And this is also the camera that is actually also now in use to show how the camera is acting. So this is another preset. Once you click on a preset in this, then like here, you will see the camera switching to that preset, and now it goes back, which is great. But you don't want to have that, of course, in your program, which is on the right hand side of this. But this I'm now recording my desktop, so that's okay for now. Actually, there's also one more thing, is that I want to be able to use the joystick. In order to do that, there's a template that I'm using right there. So this is predefined. I have not done anything besides selecting the template, and this is all that is putting in, and mark my word, it only is using the preview. So you need to be in preview mode to be able to control the camera. So once it's in program mode, it will not react. It's only in preview. So you can here see that I can go left and right, up and above. This is the fast joystick. But there's also a slow joystick, which is another one. So this is very nice. This is also very nice for panning at gigs, which I like. And this is zooming in, and there's also, of course, zooming out. And if you press the B, it goes to the home button and the home location. But I didn't do that. So that is vMix, which is really cool. You have quite some activity possibilities there. And in all fairness, that is one of the reasons why I've chosen to go with vMix. It's much more capable. It is really nice for PTZ, but it's also nice for social media. This is social media. It is working via vMix. I know I'm using Livestream Studio at this moment, but it is really, yeah, vMix is really a better choice. Again, because my current PC only has 2 inputs, I really need to have something with Ethernet, and hence also SDI is so important. But that will change in the future because I will be upgrading my capture card anyway. Amy says, so fun. I set up 6 PTZ presets for items in my studio background using vMix and my AKI or Akai MIDI controller. That is really cool, Amy. Very great. But Amy also said something else, which is, I didn't know about the shortcut templates option. Cool. Well, a few weeks ago I didn't know either, so that's absolutely fine. Well, that's roughly it for now. I've talked about what I think about why I use the PTZ PTZ camera, because I can actually have less people working on a production, but there's also another thing is that I can have the cameraman sitting next to me while I'm producing, which is also better for communication purposes than if that person is somewhere else. So that's also a reason that I forgot. I talked about the technology behind it, Panasonic, Sony, hardware, made affordable, US based, small company, very supportive. My broken PTZ camera was fixed within a week, which is great. And there are loads of different options. There's the iOS application. You have a this is this is part of the box that it comes with. So it's in the box, so you can have a remote, so you can really use it. Really great stuff. And yeah, so one more thing, you can also control it via the web. And that's the final thing that I want to show you very quickly before I leave. But there is a web application, and of course it's not helping me a little bit, but that's fine. And this is, for instance, this one, and give me 1 second to fill in the IP address. Boom, and there it is. So go back to this slide. So this is the application that also comes with. You can use. I am not installing the plugin, but you can change the orientation by hitting the arrows. You can zoom in, zoom out. You can focus in, and you can also change information, like for instance your network IP address. You can put it in there as well, and your quality of your video, etc. So there's a lot possibilities there as well. So there's loads of control options. And again, this is, I think, something that will help me for my gigs, and I will definitely also use it in my show. That's it for today. Again, I would like to thank these people over here that are really helping to make this show a possibility. If you would like to receive notifications of the show, then write show in the comments. But then you'll go through a two-step process to become in a list, so that you get notified that the show will start. I'm only going to use that for notification, so don't expect a lot of different texting around. That's not the way that I work. So that's I hope that will help. 3 years warranty on that thing, important. If you want to become a roommate, techcondo.net, and select the support site, and there you can find options for $5 to $50 a month. Typically, people say 10 or 20, so that's for a typical idea. That's it for today. Thank you so much for your interest. Thank you, everyone. Again, Geert, Amy, my dad is also in the house. So really appreciate each and everyone for being here, and I hope to see you next week. Same time, same bat channel. Bye.